When UK technology journalist Samantha Payne went to interview robotics graduate Joel Gibbard in 2013, she thought it was just going to be another in a series of profile pieces she was working on about people making positive social impacts. Little did she know it would instead change the course of her life, helping her make that sort of impact herself. Payne was interviewing Gibbard, who had studied robotics at the University of Plymouth, about his Open Hand project, an initiative to use 3D printing to create prosthetic hands. Payne was so inspired by Gibbard's enthusiasm and expertise on the topic that she decided to leave journalism behind and instead partner with Gibbard on the idea. In 2014, the two officially founded Open Bionics. The company, based out of Bristol, specializes in developing 3D printed bionic arms for amputees with below-elbow amputations. These bionic arms, known as the Hero Arm, are fully functional, using biofeedback vibrations to allow the user to grab, pinch, high-five, fist bump, and give a thumbs up. And, most importantly to Open Bionics' mission, the prosthetics are also kept low cost for those who need them. The company gained mainstream recognition rather quickly, not only for the obvious good-hearted nature of their work, but also for their bold decision not to disguise their prosthetic arms by making them look like a natural body part, as is often the case with other companies' prosthetic limbs, but to instead highlight a more positive, proud outlook, developing unique aesthetics for their bionic arms, many of which are designed specifically to look like a robot arm, sometimes even with flashing lights, and often equipped with magnetically attached, swappable decorative cover pieces, allowing users to customize their prosthetic arm. This was taken one step further in 2015, when Open Bionics partnered with Disney to create superhero, Star Wars, and other Disney-themed bionic arms for young amputees, with prosthetics modeled after the Iron Man suit, Spider-Man's costume, droids like BB-8, and even Elsa from Frozen. Meanwhile, while still headquartered in the UK, Open Bionics has expanded its clinical presence into the US, with clinics in several major American cities such as LA, Chicago, Austin, and New York. For their work, Gibbard and Payne have been awarded the James Dyson Award for Innovative Engineering, the Tech for Good Accessibility Award, the Bloomberg Business Innovators Award, and in 2020, they were both given the high honor of being awarded members of the Order of the British Empire, or MBEs, for their services to innovation, engineering, and technology. Given all that, it's doubtful they would probably consider the opportunity to work with a self-proclaimed king of the world as one of their most notable accomplishments, but hey, you never know. And they were given that opportunity in 2019 when they partnered with legendary filmmaker James Cameron and 20th Century Fox to supply specially designed bionic arms to 13-year-old double amputee Tilly Lockey, who lost both of her hands to meningitis-related sepsis when she was only 15 months old. For Cameron and Fox, it was a heartfelt move, but also, admittedly, a shrewd business decision, as Lockey was able to attend the red carpet premiere of a new movie and show off the bionic arms that were specifically designed to echo those of the movie's titular cyborg heroine. Whether Tilly Lockey will ever be able to display new, updated models at the premiere of a sequel, though, is still a lingering question. The year is 2019, and 20th Century Fox is ready to release a passion project of one of cinema's most successful players, a new live-action adaptation of a cyberpunk manga classic, and in the process hopefully launch the next big sci-fi action franchise with Alita: Battle Angel. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Welcome once again to Failure to Franchise, the show dedicated to some of Hollywood's most infamous mistakes, missteps, and misfires. This is Trev.
And I'm Chris. And in the spirit of Christmas, we're going to talk about our Lord and Savior, JC. And that's right, James Cameron.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Jay Courtney. Because this is like the heavens are really working on our favorite list on to finally the uniting of the two JCs that matter, James Cameron and Jai Courtney. It's what we were all waiting for. Yeah.
The duology that, well, anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah, 2/3 of the Holy Trinity, of course. This is an exciting one. This is, of course, part 2 of our annual tradition, Failure to Franchise presents Trev and Christmas. And as we talked about last time, this was a very special Failure Franchise Presents Trev Christmas because we ended up with 2 very timely episodes. Last episode, we looked at I, Frankenstein. I'm still recovering from having to watch that movie a second time, so thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And then this episode, My Gift to You, is a movie that is also timely for different reasons. It's kind of timely for one of the people involved and kind of what's going on in the world. Obviously, we'll get to that, and everyone who's listening already knows. But that is, we are looking at 2019's Alita, Battle Angel. Chris, why don't you tell us about it and some of the names involved?
Yes, and first I want to say, right off the bat, people are going to be screaming at us, being like, hold on. There's so much news and talk about a potential sequel that's about to happen. First of all, let's put a pin in that, okay?
Yeah.
Also, we make the rules, so we can do whatever we want. And we're calling our shots on this one. We've been waiting a couple years to talk about this movie. And I think just because of the serendipitous nature of everything, I think it was the right time. So it was perfect that Trev picked this for me and us. But also, if there's ever going to be a movie or an episode of ours that we have to make an addendum, I'll be happy to make this one. That's what I want to say.
Fine. I think, part of us even doing this was kind of seeing if we could use our Matrix powers to, like, this is the true test. So many things have happened where after we record an episode, something has come up in the news about that movie or that actor. And I think we want to finally put our powers to the test here and see if we do this episode, will we suddenly hear news about a green lighting of a sequel like next week?
Yeah. Okay. This movie, Alita, Battle Angel, is directed by Robert Rodriguez. He has he's directed a lot of movies, but From Dusk Till Dawn, The Faculty, the Spy Kids movies, Sin City. Those ones I name in particular because From Dusk Till Dawn has kind of been on people's minds this year because of Sinners. And then Sin City was like really special effects heavy. Well, I guess so was Spy Kids though. So
yeah, and I do want to say, I feel like too, I know why you mentioned those ones and it makes sense, but anytime you bring up Rodriguez, I think if we don't mention the Mariachi trilogy, what are we doing here? So yeah, El Mariachi, Desperado, of course, is his first like big claim to fame. Definitely. And then Once Upon a Time in Mexico. Yeah.
It is written by one James Cameron. Heard of him? Just banger after banger. The Avatar trilogy now. One second, I'm going to put a pin here. Every time in the last 5 years, me and Trev, when we mention Avatar, we make a joke that's flippant and about all the dorks on the internet that pretend that those movies don't exist and nobody cares about them and they're not going to make any money. So we make a joke that we don't remember what that movie is or what that franchise is. You know what? We're killing the bit. The bit's dead. I think it's enough. I'm done feeding these people.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere. They're out in full force again right now. This weekend I've seen.
It's insane.
But the thing is, the reason they're keeping it going, and the reason they have to shout so loud now is like they've lost. They've lost this battle. Like it's clear now, and all their arguments, they can move their goalposts all they want. I even saw someone point out like a really good take on that, where again someone's like, "Oh, nobody can remember any characters' names, or no one can remember any classic lines." And someone said like, "Why do you guys use that as the only metric? Can you just say Pandora and everyone can imagine what the planet looks like?"
Totally.
It's like it doesn't matter if people remember specific lines. If people just remember the look of the movie, like, that's what Karen's going for. So, and here we are on the brink of this one making another like clearly over $1 billion. So yeah, it's time to retire the bit because like, fuck them.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Okay, so that to the side, James Cameron wrote this film with also Alita Kalogridis. She wrote with the Birds of Prey series, Altered Carbon series, Shutter Island. She also wrote Terminator Genesis. So there's maybe a James Cameron connection.
She did a lot of script doctoring in pretty big movies too, I noticed, like Scream 3 and things like that, yeah.
Also, I gotta mention John Landau's name as well. The steward of the Avatar trilogy, really a steward of James Cameron's career since Titanic. But he was heavily involved with this film as well, with Cameron. It's also based on the 1990s manga Battle Angel Alita by Yukito Kishiro.
Yep.
The budget of the film, $170 million. Domestically, $85 million. Worldwide, just over $400 million. So not too shabby, but not exactly enough. It has its fans. Actually, a pretty loud fandom for this one. That even the home video sales in 2019, when this movie came out, by the end of 2019, it had sold something like $50 million in home video, which is something that is kind of, disappearing more and more by the day.
Remember those days when you could like kind of save your movie with home video? Must be nice. Yeah.
So this one, we will see what happens. But this one has a long history. Passion project of James Cameron. I know I said Robert Rodriguez directed it. We will get to that handoff. But first and foremost, I guess we should really talk about Battle Angel Alita, not Alita, Battle Angel. I think the manga is something we have to discuss first and foremost.
And don't worry, we'll even talk about why they made that change to the name. But,
yes.
So did you have any like history or even knowledge of the manga before this movie came out? Was that like on your radar at all?
Purely because of the decades-long talk about this movie getting made. Yeah, like my knowledge is from James Cameron. Yeah, I've never opened the books. I've never read them. I didn't even watch the animated adaptation. There was a little bit of it that happened before. But have you read or watched?
No, I haven't really read a lot of manga. I can't remember if this has ever come up on our show before. I know you and I have talked about this like kind of privately. Not that like it's some dark secret or something. But,
that's hentai, Trev.
Yeah. No, like because you watch a lot of kind of more current anime because your wife is really into it. I know.
Yes.
And I'm a really big fan of like. It's kind of actually strange that I don't know this one more because, as you know, I'm a really big fan of the anime of this period. I'm a really big fan of like 80s and early 90s anime, and then I kind of like lost it a little bit. So I did know the property even before, or I guess maybe around the same time Cameron was, discovering it maybe, but like before he started talking about it, I knew of it just from being in comic book stores all the time growing up. And like when the first big manga anime wave hit over here, it was definitely one of the titles I'd always see on the shelf, but I never, for whatever reason, I never picked it up. And I think maybe because that animated adaptation didn't hit here the same way that stuff like Akira did or Ninja Scroll or Vampire Hunter D. If I'd seen the anime, I might have been pulled like maybe into the property a little bit more, but I never was. And I don't basically read manga. Like even Akira, which is still one of my favorite movies, I've never really sat down and read the whole manga. You know? So yeah, I just kind of like watching the movies and the shows.
That's fair. Yeah. Well, I guess to our listeners and us reading up about it, it was published from 1990 to 1995. In Japan, it's called Gunm. So, which is I heard James Cameron pronounce it. I'll put the clip here.
But then, of course, the manga is actually called Gunmo.
Doesn't sell in the Western. Is that going to really?
And I'm probably not doing it justice.
4 tickets for
Gunmo.
Yeah,
which means gun dream.
Gun dream.
Yeah, it's like the eighth passenger death.
Yes, and electronic murderer. It's like it works.
It resonates in its culture,
but not everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's about a character named Alita, Gali in the Japanese version in the manga. She's a female cyborg that has amnesia. She's found in a junkyard. She's rebuilt. And the only thing that she really remembers from her previous life is being like a warrior in like this huge war that happened. So I think it's called The Fall in the books too. But
and she has kind of instinctual memories of like she knows this like cyborg martial art called Panzerkunst. So like it allows her to, as she's recovering her memories or trying to recover her memories, in the meantime she becomes a bounty hunter. And then this is what I got. I love this concept of the storyline too. That would be enough for like most stories. Yeah. And I love that the author is like she's a bounty hunter and also she becomes a huge star in a sport in motorball.
Yeah, totally. There's there's a floating city called Zalem. Or Zalem, sorry, it's Zalem, and it's exploiting the city's scrapyard 300 years after this big war, and to keep the people in line, they've created this sport called motorball, and it's basically rollerball, right? But not in night vision goggles. Sidebar: one of my most hated movies of all time.
I can't wait to do that movie.
Anyway, but Alita is a star in that realm as well. And as she gets better in the sport and gets better with her fighting, she unlocks her memories from her past of fighting on like Mars and the moon. It's like there's a lot of stuff that goes on, but basically the whole idea is it's a coming of age story, right? It's a young female protagonist that is learning about her past and caring about the people around her and protecting the people. Mm-hmm. So you're probably asking, why did a property like this speak to James Cameron? Well, very similar to the stuff he's been making for 30 years. Female protagonists, fearless leaders, protecting the people, simplicity on one hand, but it's taking like human emotions and regular connections, but putting them into like a fantastical spectacle, right? A fantastical world. And I think that's where Cameron works best. So,
and if there's one other thing that we know Cameron loves, it's he loves a badass woman too. You know, like he loves a badass female character. It was very funny that recently he was doing some interview and he was talking about one battle after another. And of course, the thing he locked in on the most was he wanted to talk about how well like Chase Infinity did with the guns in the movie. It's
totally.
Like that's what. But yeah, you look at like how he evolved the character Ripley. Of course, what he does with Sarah Connor. Like this is like right in his wheelhouse. He loves a strong woman.
Yeah, and loves a hero's journey, right?
Yeah.
And it's cool that I've only really realized or learned this in the past couple weeks of listening to Cameron talk about Avatar 3. But did you know that his friendship with Guillermo del Toro goes back like 30 plus years? Did you know this?
It makes sense. I knew they'd been friends for a while. I didn't know it had been like that long. But I mean, you figure that's got to be a pretty deep friendship, considering we all know the famous story about him paying the ransom for Guillermo del Toro's dad when he was kidnapped.
Yeah.
So yeah, you got to assume that's like that friendship does go pretty deep, and that makes sense. And he even said that he considers Guillermo del Toro and Catherine Bigelow, his ex-wife, which I thought was really sweet, his two best friends in like the filmmaking business.
Yeah, it was cool to hear in recent interviews like how much they hang out and how they have little model nights where him and Steven Spielberg and J.J. Abrams, the odd man out, get together at Del Toro's house.
You should count yourself very lucky that you're getting to sit at that table, JJ.
But get together at Del Toro's house. He makes quesadillas, and they like build model sets that he gets imported from Japan, which is pretty cool. And Del Toro brought this property to Cameron. So right in 1995, when the series wrapped up, there's been sequel series for it, just to let you know, but the main Battle Angel Alita story he brought to James Cameron, and I just love their friendship so much. And they had a Directors Guild podcast interview that came out this week that I listened to, and I don't know if I've ever told you this, but it might be obvious at this point, but Del Toro and Cameron are like my favorite filmmakers. Like they just are my favorite directors, those two. So to find out that they are so intertwined in the last 30 years of their careers, it like makes so much sense. Like it makes so much sense that these two really corny, cheesy guys that are absolute visionaries would be so simpatico. You know what I mean?
Not enough for Cameron to finance In the Mountains of Madness, so that's a little grudge I'll always hold. Do you think he was like, look, Guillermo, I'll either give you the money for your dad or give you the money for your dream Lovecraft adaptation? You got to choose one. And Del Toro was like, give me a weekend to think about it.
He thought about it. They discussed it at that model building meeting. But yeah, so it's cool that they have a friendship, but Del Toro brought this property to Cameron, and immediately Cameron falls in love with it. He wants to direct it pretty much right away, right after his show Dark Angel ends, and then also after his Aliens of the Deep documentary. But a little thing called Avatar is also in the back of his mind since he was 16 years old, I believe, and he had a dream about it. And so Avatar's been kind of juggling up in his brain all these years, and he has to kind of do a coin toss in a lot of ways of like what to do next. Hit the iron when it's hot. Both properties require a stunning level of technology, but he chooses Avatar mostly because of the environmental message. He realizes in about 2005 or so that that's the movie that he needs to really go forward with, because I don't know if you know this, Trev, but the Earth is in a big problem, right? It's got issues. So he thought Avatar was more important than Alita.
The big question for me is, does an Avatar movie do any good?
Yeah. Does it?
Well, I think it must, because of the fact that people go, and that's demonstrable.
And you're immersed in this world for 3 hours.
I think it might give some people in the audience sort of pause before they vote for some idiot that's going to do the kind of things that, we're not winning right now, but we conceivably could be losing worse than we are right now if these films didn't exist, or maybe they have no measurable impact in the grand scheme. I don't want to overstate what fantasy and adventure and entertainment can do in real world politics, but it's worth a try.
Which is interesting, because when you look at Alita and like the idea of like the fall and something, you could still like take some of those environmental themes and place it onto that. Yeah. But obviously it couldn't be as much of the focus, not without kind of rewriting a lot of what the story is. Because honestly, not to say too much about the movie yet, but you read what the anime is about, and the movie is a pretty close translation. Like the movie's pretty accurate. So you'd have to kind of like change the focus and change the themes if you wanted that to be the main idea. Whereas in Avatar, it just by nature is the main idea.
Yeah. And that's why in 2015, Robert Rodriguez comes on board. Again, I didn't know about this, but they also have a friendship. It's always so funny to I don't really listen to a lot of celebrities anymore. Like, that about me. I'm not really into listening to actors talk. And even I had on my YouTube queue the Jennifer Lawrence and Leo DiCaprio Actors on Actors interview. And then you said it was boring as shit. So I
one half of it is boring as shit, to be clear. And you can probably, J-Law is trying. She's trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess in recent years, I just don't give a flying fuck about what an actor has to say in a lot of ways. But I don't write off the directors and the writers. So I actually am still heavily interested in listening to the behind the scenes interviews and podcasts. And it was, again, Rodriguez and Cameron have been like friends since Rodriguez came on the scene, which is cool. And basically the reason Rodriguez gets this movie is they had like a night hanging out drinking. And right before Rodriguez gets in the car to leave Cameron's estate, he's like, so what else you got going on? Like, is there something I can take a peek at? And Cameron was like, actually, I have a 186-page screenplay and 600 pages of notes. So he basically gives that to Rodriguez to combine to create a shooting script. Yeah. Pretty wild how that happens.
And Rodriguez, it's kind of it sounds like he wanted him just to basically come on as like to help rewrite it, but he's so impressed by his work on it that and I think at that point the Avatar train is rolling along now, and so he's just so impressed. He says, you know what, I'm just gonna finally, this was my dream too, but I'm gonna put this one aside. You gotta choose. I'm gonna put this aside. You did such a good job on the shooting script. You can direct the movie instead. And for Rodriguez, obviously, we'll talk about his filmography in a moment too, but that's first of all, anytime James Cameron hands you a project and says, I think I have faith in you, but like, I can only imagine how nerve-wracking that was, because this is like a huge step up in scale for Rodriguez too. Oh yeah. And then it's like, not only is it a huge step up in scale, but you're like, you're making James Cameron's dream project for him. Like, good God, I wouldn't want that pressure. But,
I know.
Yeah.
I guess, can we just talk about both of those directors a little bit?
Yeah, of course.
I know I just said that James Cameron is like my favorite director, so I have a lot to say. I will keep it brief, but there's nobody like him, and I seriously, honest to God, believe that there's not one person like James Cameron or can do the things James Cameron can do in all of Hollywood. And I saw Fire and Ash. I'm seeing it again tomorrow. And when the movie ended, I saw it with my sister. Me and my sister go to these movies together. I guess these two movies, the two sequels. But she turned to me and she goes, she just nailed it. She says, he makes magic. Mm-hmm. And, to all the, okay, I'm not here to ever, I'm never going to do this ever, Trev. I'm never going to convince anyone to like Avatar. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't, frankly, I couldn't give a flying fuck anymore. A flying ikran anymore. Okay? It's over. I'm not, you guys have had 16 years. If you don't like it, that's fine. Go with God. You know? You don't like cool action movies? That's fine by me. But what I will say is there's this documentary on Disney Plus called, what is it called? Fire and Water, the making of the Avatar films or something. It just came out in the last couple months. I implore you, film lovers, if you like or dislike those movies, or have issues with Cameron spending the last 30 years of his life on them, and if you love cinema as much as you suppose, or you like to spout off, right, with all your little opinions, go watch that documentary series. Those 2 episodes, it's like an hour and 20 total. You'll be floored by this man. And there's lots of BTS stuff in James Cameron's career. Like his DVDs are always stacked, especially in the past. He's a big fan of special editions and
he's not one of the things I love about him is he's not averse to talking about his own work or himself. In fact, he loves it. He's very egotistical, which I also love because he should be.
100%.
And so he does a lot of, he's done it through the years. And every time a new movie's coming out, especially it ramps up. But he's done a lot of like kind of career look backs and get very into depth on what he was thinking and what he was doing at all points in his career. Yeah.
He knows he rocks. And the detail that this guy puts into things, the engineering he puts into things, his thought process, what he knows will work for an audience. This guy, there's a reason why he's made some of the greatest films of all time. And he is a household name, like really. So again, James Cameron to me is like top tier. I've no bad things to say about this guy. I even like again, I called him corny before. Him and Del Toro are corny and cheesy. I like his writing. I don't give a fuck what people say. I like that it's corny. I like that it's earnest.
It's earnest. Yeah,
it's
very earnest.
There you go.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that me and you both love about filmmakers when they're earnest about their writing. So,
like the jokes in the Avatar movies are actually kind of bad, Yeah. but it doesn't matter, right? Because it's like you realize like he thinks it's funny, and he just thinks, and it's like it's so like emotionally true to him, and that's the thing. And like you said, and he's really. I think he really believes that the Avatar movies could maybe help save the world. And like, I don't even know if I agree with that, but I love that he thinks that, and is like, it's who I would also compare him to is, I don't know, we've talked about this before, is like the Wachowskis too, right? That same level of like, just pure earnestness and really believing in what you're doing on an artistic level to like try and make the world a better place and tell these stories of love and world improvement, but I'm going to deliver that message in like fucking badass sci-fi movies with kung fu and aliens, like that's because there's still a need for audience and a need for box office. He's also very much a businessman, and he's very aware of, I need these movies to make money. And even now he's talking about how he's like, I understand that Avatar 3 has to make a certain amount of money for me to get the chance to do Avatar 4. So it's just, he really is like the complete package on all of this.
What I love about you is so much of your career has been just being motivated by what's cool and being, it's like there's a kid at heart there.
It's very simple.
That's why you connect with people around the world. Yeah. You love a challenge. And you don't like doing things you've done before. But then what does that mean for you in the future of this franchise?
We never, the scripts for 4 and 5 are written, and they are so different from Fire and Ash and The Way of Water that you won't believe it. If I ever get to make those movies, and once again, the market is changing, the business model may be unsustainable. I can't emphasize that enough. If we squeak by on this one, we'll continue on.
You're willing to stick around in Pandora?
Hell yeah. I've already written the damn scripts. They're great.
And I can see in your face it's fun. Like
movie 4 is a corker. You won't. You won't believe it.
I got to see it now.
And to just put one last little button on what you just said, there's really no. Spielberg obviously is probably our best living filmmaker. But on a blockbuster level, and I get Spielberg has made blockbusters too, so this is like a really tough comparison, but I think you'll know what I mean. Putting Spielberg aside, I don't think there's anyone better than Cameron in like structuring an action sequence, especially a long action sequence that entirely can go on for like 15, 20 minutes, and he knows exactly when the audience is about to get exhausted and when to slow that action scene down and suddenly cut to some kind of emotional moment with the characters and then get back to the action. Nobody structures action sequences, big spectacle, better than James Cameron.
You're so right. I remember the first time I saw the original Avatar, right? And I remember me and my friend afterwards, we talked about how brilliant he is, that you never lose track of the action either.
Yeah.
Like, there's sometimes in these Avatar movies, there's fucking 30 characters that things are going on, and there's arcs that are being completed, and there's people in danger, and you never lose track of Neytiri's in the ship still, and Jake's on the moon thing over here, and fucking Quaritch is over here, and you never forget, because as soon as you start to maybe forget where they are, he reminds you.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. Plus his lighting. Have you noticed this? I mean, I'm sure you have, but my friend just recently, the same guy I'm talking about right now, he went through all of Cameron's filmography in the last month, just a fun rewatch, and he said the thing that was most notable this time around was his lighting of action scenes. That they're never dark and murky, they're never out of focus, they're like the full range of the scene is in focus, and there's stuff happening everywhere. Like, he's so confident, right? And you think about like the Marvel movies and like Endgame and these big giant action scenes, things are hidden, right? Like things are hidden in the background, in the foreground, or because of budget issues or CGI issues or even casting issues. But in Cameron's films, everything is clear. The clarity is there. It's amazing. The confidence
even Endgame, like a movie I like, but like the final huge battle, as fun as it might be, takes place in like a really just ugly, barren, you know, desert scape. Like, and Cameron would never do that. You know, the idea of like, and so you know these battle scenes in Avatar are taking place in like the most beautiful, you know, colorful planet possible. And speaking to what you said, and like, this is also what I was saying too about the way he structures action scenes. To compare him kind of unfavorably to, or unfavorably for the other person, to another filmmaker I know you like, but I think you'll get what I'm saying, is like the difference between what I was saying with him in action scenes and like you compare him to like Michael Bay, right?
I was waiting for this.
Yeah, I mean, look, I like a lot of Michael Bay's work too, and I'll even point to the example I'm thinking of is the big action climax, the Battle of Chicago in Transformers 3, which is awesome. It is awesome. There's no denying that, but it's also super overwhelming. You know, it just never kind of stops, and it doesn't slow down. And it's the reason it's kind of awesome is because it's overwhelming to the point where it almost becomes like funny. And that's kind of like what's so joyous about it, right? Is that it's just like, oh my God, this won't stop. But Cameron is like much better. Like, he would never let his action be overwhelming in that way. Like, it's just, it's his action sequences have 3-act structures. Like his, you know, like the final, you know, 20-minute war scene in an Avatar movie will have its own 3-act structure. And I don't understand why he's so alone in that. You know, it's just like
bizarre, right?
We have like 10 Cameron movies now where he's proven to be a master at this, and it's just strange that more people haven't studied him to the point of like realizing, you know, like the Russo brothers, could you guys just sit down with these DVDs and like spend some time, like, you know,
It's strange. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I've been kind of racking my brain over the last week as well. Why is there is no movie out there that looks as good as these last 2 Avatar movies?
It's incredible.
Like on a CGI special effects level, there is no movie in the history of cinema that looks as good as those movies do. And like you said, why is he alone? And they are distinctly his. So because, like, you know, he's threatening not to make 4 and 5, right? And I get it, it's the business thing. And, you know, also there's, you know, the issue that John Landau, we brought up, you know, he passed away in the last couple of years as well. So maybe Cameron's heart is a little broken right now. Who knows? Maybe the love that Fire and Ash is getting is gonna bring him back. Who knows?
Yeah, it's also like he's right now he's going through the Daniel Craig as Bond thing too, right? Sure. Where everyone's asking him, are you going to do 4 and 5 right as he's putting 3 out? And he's like, I just finished this. Like, literally, right? He just like got the final cut together not too long ago. Like he's not thinking about it right now.
No. So it's like, we're not going to talk about Fire and Ash on the podcast here, but there is still room to go, right, for the next movie. Mm-hmm. If Cameron does not come back, big if, okay, that movie will be so different. Trev, I really believe that the movie will not look the same. It will not feel the same.
Well, you know what
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. You go. I've been kind of rambling.
You know what I said? Like, we've talked about how, like, no one is like him, and like we always say, like, why aren't there more Camerons? But he has finally taken on he has finally taken on an acolyte. He has finally taken on an apprentice, and so who knows? He has a co-director now. Maybe Avatar 4 will be directed by Billie Eilish, because.
Also, something I recently learned.
Did you get that trailer with the Fire and Ash?
No, I didn't. I didn't get my IMAX screening had no good trailers. I got the Moana.
Well, first of all, the trailer for the Billie Eilish concert film, co-directed by Billie Eilish and James Cameron, actually kind of fucking rips. And I was like, wow, I don't usually go see these concert movies in the theater, but this does look awesome. Like, the 3D looks super cool, and like part of the movie too is actually, it's not just a concert film, but it's also showing the behind the scenes work of Cameron working to create the rigs and the tech to do the concert. And like, but and this is the thing that you and I love, and I think some people roll their eyes at, but the trailer literally starts by saying, she changed music, he changed movies. And I was like, come on. I'm in, baby.
Again, earnest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, if Avatar 4 comes out without Cameron doing it, it's just going to look like every other blockbuster. It's kind of the way even the Planet of the Apes happened, right? You know, the new trilogy, the Caesar trilogy? Mm-hmm. It has a distinct look and feel, especially with Dawn and War. But then that new one came out, and we both liked it, right? Mm-hmm. But
it was very fine.
It was very fine, but there was a tangibility that was gone from it. Mm-hmm. It felt very modern blockbuster fare.
Well, I mean, we didn't even really plan this, but I mean, this is like almost like a natural segue, because like this is a perfect conversation to have when we're talking about Alita Battle Angel, because this movie is the ultimate kind of proof of concept of that, right? What does it look like when a Cameron movie is not a Cameron movie? What does it look like when he hands over the directing reins to someone else? How close can someone else get to that Cameron vibe when he is your producer, he's your writer, he's there on set, he's still very involved, but he's not the one making the final calls. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Like, I don't know. Obviously, we'll talk about this movie and like what's going on with this. Like, I don't think I've never heard anything about Robert Rodriguez being in the mix for maybe directing an Avatar movie. But if Cameron does decide to like step aside and only produce and write the next couple, obviously there's a very small pool of filmmakers he would trust to take over. Totally. And you have to wonder if Rodriguez is one of the ones he's thinking about, and if that would have to do with this movie. So just kind of interesting to think about. Yeah.
Totally. That was a great segue. Good job.
Yeah. Try,
Yeah. Every now and then.
100-something episodes in, I finally learned how to do a segue.
Okay, well, let's talk about him, Robert Rodriguez. This is, I'm going to hand this one more to you. Okay. I took the reins of Cameron. You take the reins of Rodriguez, please. You give us the thoughts on the guy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm a OG Rodriguez fan because, as I know I have talked about in this show before, I was born in 80. So in the early to mid 90s, I'm, a young teen, like, and I'm really getting into that big indie cinema boom, right? And like, and it was just that perfect, amazing moment where, like, Spike Lee had already hit, Jim Jarmusch stuff was kind of out there, but then like really the big moment, right? We get Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez, and Kevin Smith. They all hit at the same time. And it's just, and I was so excited about all three of them. And I remember at the time thinking, like, all three of these filmmakers are going to continue to be my favorites for years to come. One of them has panned out. But no, so I saw Desperado first, of course, because it had that Tarantino attachment to it, right? It was they tried to trick audiences into thinking it was like a Tarantino movie. He has a brief role in the film, and they put him in the trailer, and it was really kind of, and like it was in the wake of Pulp Fiction, so it was very much like, it's the new Tarantino thing. So my family went to see it and just fucking loved the movie, and just is like so blown away by that his action sequences are very Sam Raimi-esque, like how creative and playful he is with the camera, and like John Woo mixed with Sam Raimi. I think that's the perfect way to describe the early Robert Rodriguez action vibes, right? Like the kind of huge, overly emotional bombast of John Woo with the creative, super creative, playful, cartoonish camera work and tone of Raimi. So then I went back and checked out El Mariachi, and like, you know, it's a movie that obviously it was only made for $7,000 and it shows, but that's super impressive by its own account. And then you learn the story about how he raised that $7,000, where he put himself, like he made himself a medical test subject at these like facilities and things. If you haven't read his book, Rebel Without a Crew, which is about the making of El Mariachi, where he details that entire process, one of the best filmmaking books of all time. And then, yeah, you mentioned From Dusk Till Dawn, which, I mean, I fucking love From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah.
You know? And that's him directing a Tarantino script. So like that friendship was kind of formed and really important early on. I'm a huge defender of The Faculty. You know, Spy Kids isn't my thing, but you got to give it to him for like making that transition early on to say like, I'm not just going to be the R-rated action guy. I'm also going to do kids movies. And guess what? They're huge hits. Totally. And so it's like, and they're pretty corny, but again, earnestly corny. Like that's the thing is people would like, I remember people would make fun of them, and like even I would probably take a look at them and be like, what is with these? But like they're very earnest again, right? He knows what he's doing with those. Sin City. I mean, I'm just going through his filmography now, right?
No,
Planet
totally.
Terror. You know, even though I like the Tarantino half of Grindhouse more, still Planet Terror is a lot of fun. I love the first Machete, and then you know, it's been kind of more hit and miss since then. I think you know it's strange. I look at his more recent stuff, and I kind of like don't feel that like early Rodriguez magic, you know, when he was like young and hungry and felt like, you know, he was trying to prove something and was very like kind of creative with the, as I said, with the camera work and everything. I feel like he's kind of fallen into, you know, some more generic kind of filmmaking styles and just not the same kind of level of hype. It's also fair too that he's become like kind of this mogul, right? He ran his own network for a while, you know, he's run his own, like, I think he had his own like cooking stuff for a bit. He's at a level of success now where maybe he doesn't feel that hunger. I would love to see him kind of return to like the mariachi desperado From Dusk Till Dawn Rodriguez kind of vibes, but I also don't know if he needs to. So I'd say my relationship with Rodriguez is like complicated now, but he'll always be special to me because of how special he was to me throughout the 90s. Yeah.
And he's just so pleasant. You know, like listening to him talk, he's just pleasant to listen to, and he knows his stuff. He's not like an Eli Roth, Quentin Tarantino acolyte. You know what I mean? Like he's not a douchebag.
No, he's also one of the best audio commentary directors. Like if you have any of his movies where he does an audio commentary, he's so good at it. Like,
well, he's also so good at it because, like James Cameron, he has his hands in every department. You know, this Alita movie was the first time in years that he was the director, yes, but he wasn't the film editor, the DOP, the camera operator, the composer, the Steadicam guy, the production designer, the VFX supervisor, the sound editor. Like this guy had to do everything for all these other early movies. I listened to an interview recently, and he joked that it was because he had no money to make these movies, so he had to just learn it and do it himself. And that's kind of the way Cameron was doing it too. So no wonder that these guys had connective tissue, that they have their hands in every department, big into 3D in the beginning too. Like, look, like these Spy Kids movies had 3D, The Adventures of Shark Boy and Lava Girl 3D. I worked at the movie theater when that came out. That was your red and blue glasses, by the way. And then his interest in special effects. And you leapfrogged over Sin City there. Yeah. But let's come back to that for just a second and be like, that was kind of monumental.
It was. You know what happens in my head is because Sin City 2 is so bad. And unfortunately, like colors the first one for me. But that's actually it shouldn't, and I shouldn't let it. And I keep meaning to go back and revisit Sin City. Like part of me is nervous too, but I did really like that first one at the time.
Oh yeah. That was great.
I do think that's where he kind of loses his way a little bit though too, because like he is as interested in the kind of the filmmaking technology aspects as Cameron, but obviously he's not quite as talented. And Rodriguez does get to a point where he basically just forms his own studio like in his garage, like in Texas. He has this compound, and in the garage it's all green screen, and he basically like just makes everything there now. And I think you see that in a lot of his like later stuff where it just it no longer feels organic, and you know, there's a level of laziness to that where it's just like my actors have to come to me, to my compound, and I'll just shoot everything here. He does still do weird experimental stuff. We can't forget that he made that movie that none of us will ever see because it's not going to be released for like 100 years. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. And so he's still interesting, and I think there's always a chance of him still, you know, I mean, well, we'll talk about this movie, right? It's depending on who he collaborates with, or, you know, where his sudden like interests lie. I think there's always a chance of him kind of, you know, making something really, really cool again. I just feel like I'm always waiting for it.
Yeah, it was. Remember when we were excited for Book of Boba Fett?
Yeah.
And like Rodriguez was named producer, and he was going to direct a few episodes, and I think that's kind of the moment for me that I was like, oh, he's not the same as what he used to be.
Yeah.
Was watching that dog shit show. And then he goes on to make Ben Affleck's Hypnotic. I did not partake. Did you try that one out from 2023?
No, I saw some scenes and I was like, I think I'm good. Yeah. So
it's strange because I think you're right about we don't like making fun of directors, but like the laziness thing. Do you think you'd maybe circle that around like the Grindhouse way of thinking? Like, okay, so this is what follow me along my thought process here. The Grindhouse idea is fun and outlandish and silly, but it's almost like when people go too far with they become like a Sharknado movie. Okay. Versus like, okay, you're kind of following me. Like I remember watching Machete and I was like, this is actually pretty fun. Yeah. But then 3 years later, Machete Kills came out, and I was like, "Oh no!"
Exact same response here. Yeah, and Sin City 2 is like that too, right? Where
it's almost like he's too self-aware. He's too self-aware of the joke now that it's become pat. Like it's just bad. It's just bad. Anyway. Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a great way of putting it. And like I said, he's not also trying to do anything that's like feels like scrappy anymore, right? It's either these big kids movies or like kind of still trying to make these like big action things with like the CGI and everything. And it's just like, I don't know. I just want him to do like an El Mariachi again, you know? Even like fucking get Banderas and just make like an old mariachi movie, you know? Yes, it'll just be Logan probably, but like it's fine by me, you know? Like totally. I would love to see him approach something like that. Oh, you know another Rodriguez movie actually. I was mentioning his whole filmography, but you know what I want to highlight that never gets talked about, and I think it's a movie worthy of like discovery for people who haven't seen it, is right after El Mariachi, in between El Mariachi and Desperado, he made a movie for Showtime, a cable movie called Road Racers. Please, everyone, go check out Road Racers. It rules. It's on Blu-ray. It stars David Arquette, Salma Hayek. It's actually the movie that he used to get Salma Hayek the Desperado role because the studio didn't want to hire her because she was just some like Mexican actress. And they're like, no, we want like an American actress. And he used Road Racers as like proof of concept to show how beautiful she is on screen and how good she is. And it's like this like 50s biker pastiche, you know, juvenile delinquent movie about David Arquette as this, you know, biker teen going up against the evil sheriff of a town played by William Sadler. It rules. So that's one I always want to highlight too.
He directed that?
Yeah, he directed it.
Oh, it's not even on his IMDb.
That's strange. Well, maybe because it's a TV movie. I don't know, but if you see something called like Rebel Highway, that would be that because it's going to be actually.
Oh, Rebel Highway. Yep, you're right. It is. It's considered.
It's an episode of Rebel because Rebel Highway. What that was they're all actually feature-length movies. They got a bunch of different directors to make a feature-length movie every week using like the name of an old like 50s biker movie or whatever, or like that was his. So
right.
Really good stuff. Do you think the true test, here's a question for you.
Sure.
The true test of James Cameron and Robert Rodriguez's friendship. Do you think James Cameron has seen the top of Robert Rodriguez's head? Do you know what I'm talking about?
This is something me and my other friends talk about all the time. 20 years?
Listeners, I implore you right now, get online, do a Google image search and see if you can find a picture of Rodriguez where he's not wearing a hat or a bandana. Tell me if you can find pictures where you can just see his hair. And I'm sure, you know, it's probably, maybe it's a balding thing, and maybe he's very self-conscious about it, but he has done a very good job keeping the top of his head out of the public eye for 30 years now.
Okay, let's talk about Alita.
Okay.
Okay, right at the on the other side of this.
You told me the story of the war, when the ground shook and the sky burned. Of the ones that survived, who awoke to a different world, where the powerful prey on the weak. But that's not the way it has to be.
When I found you, your very human brain was miraculously intact.
It's the loneliest feeling not to know who you are.
In time, you'll remember.
I remember black skies, the lightning all around me.
Alita's new here. It's a harsh world down here. You gotta be willing to do what it takes.
Alita, run! My God. She's the last of her kind. She contains technology that have been lost for 300 years.
Let me show you something.
This body, I feel a connection to it. I can't explain. You know more about me than you're saying.
Alita, some things are better left forgotten.
And I'll find out for myself.
She's threatening the natural order of things. I need you to destroy her. Alita, they will come for you.
I'll have to face them head on. I'm gonna need you to stand way back.
Tonight is not a game. It is a hunt.
Across this new divide.
I'm with her.
In the 26th century, 300 years after the war, titled The Fall, scientist Dr. Ito finds an abandoned female cyborg shell in a junkyard and brings her back to his laboratory for repair. He brings her back online, naming her after his deceased daughter, Alita. As Alita learns to navigate her new life and the treacherous streets of Iron City, Ito tries to shield her from her mysterious history, while her street-smart new friend Hugo offers instead to help trigger her memories. But it's only when the deadly and corrupt forces that run the city come after Alita that she discovers a clue to her past, that she has unique fighting abilities that those in power will stop at nothing to control. If she can stay out of their grasp, she could be the key to saving her friends, her family, and the world she's grown to love.
Chris, I remember you went first on I, Frankenstein. If you don't mind, since this was my gift to you, if we can just swap that, I'll go first, talking about Alita Battle Angel.
Sure.
So, and I wanted to talk about it because I just want to get my thesis statement out of the way here first, because I actually have a lot of things to say about this movie, and I think a lot of them will just kind of naturally come up during the conversation, especially that thing we were just talking about before the break, about the idea of watching a movie that is so clearly a James Cameron movie, but not entirely a James Cameron movie, like a James Cameron movie filtered through another filmmaker. I think that's something very interesting to talk about, and I do want to talk about that. But I think what I mostly want to say about Alita is this movie to me is proof of something that I feel so strongly about. And I know, and I think you agree with me because I believe we've had this conversation before. Something that we as like film fans, moviegoers, just the general society in general needs to get back in touch with is allowing a movie to just be pretty good or really good and finding that satisfying. And not having everything have to be either the best thing ever or the worst thing ever. And not having to act like you have to pitch everything to those extremes. Because Alita Battle Angel is really good. It's not great. It's got a lot of flaws. It's, you can see the seams. There's things that are definitely not perfect about it. There are things that are like kind of broken about it. And I want to get into those things. But there's enough here that it's pretty darn fun. And because I can accept it as just being pretty good, I can watch it and have a good time. And more importantly, I can see the potential of what could be with like follow-ups and what is to come. And that's how I felt about it since I first saw it. That's how I felt about it revisiting it, where it's like I watched the movie and like it feels a little long at times. I'm like, okay, some of this could have been trimmed down. Some of this could be cut. I'm not sure all this is entirely working, but man, what is working here? There are flashes of that James Cameron magic where you feel like, this is what I get from the James Cameron Prime movies, like that does come through at times. There's also flashes of like the Rodriguez magic. There's actually some moments where you go like, wow, this is actually a perfect marriage of these two. There's some great kind of effects work. There's some really fun characters, really fun performances. I love living in this world just like I do Pandora. Not just like, but same idea.
Sure.
I think it's
Yeah.
I think it's a great world building movie. To me, it's a really good like cyberpunk sci-fi action movie. So do I think it's like the best thing ever? No. But am I here to say that every time I revisit Alita Battle Angel, I enjoy it? And like, I am in that camp that wants sequels, to just give away at the end of the podcast right now. Yeah, no, I'm definitely Team Alita. So that's just we just stop this dumb binary of everything being either amazing or horse shit, because there are movies that just exist like on the more positive side of middle, and that's fine.
I'm so happy you stated what I was feeling way more eloquently than I could have said. Because this was my third viewing of the movie. I saw it in theaters. I bought it on Blu-ray. I rewatched it now twice. And I'm going to say this with a caveat. I think this movie is really good.
Yeah.
And this viewing was probably my least favorite of the three viewings. And the reason I say that is because I've come to terms with it not being great.
Yeah.
And I think when I saw this the first time back in 2019, it was, in my mind, I was a lot more binary as well, in that sense of like, okay, I have to tell people that Alita is great. I have to fight for this movie because I'm a fan of it. And I have to not lie, but I have to stretch it a bit. And I think this viewing, as much as I like this movie, I came to terms with it being exactly what you're saying, is pretty darn good.
Yeah.
And it is held together by just a charm personified in Alita. Rosa Salazar plays Alita. She is absolute charm personified.
It's pretty hard to quantify how big the reaction was that Robert and I both had to Rosa. I mean, she just came in the normal sort of process of casting, and she just started to emerge out in front of everybody else as an actor who put such heart, such emotion, and such vitality into every moment. When you see 10 actors all read the same scene, and you look at them back to back, and then you see one who makes not just every line count, but every moment between the lines count, and is shifting and has these complex reactions and is surprised and is earnest and heartfelt. I mean, I've never seen anything like it out of a young actor her age, and I think she's just phenomenal. I think she really is phenomenal.
You're totally smitten with her, and that to me is the James Cameron magic of not just the action scenes, but getting you to buy into the heroine, right? To get you to buy into the little moments. And I want to bring up the little moments a lot because, we haven't even mentioned performance capture yet. And, this came out before Way of Water, but after Avatar 1. And there's a difference between performance capture and then mocap, like Gollum and stuff. And it's the little moments. It's the little moments where when you're watching Avatar and the Sully kids are like rolling their eyes, or they're sticking their tongue out about something, or they're being very human, even though they're Na'vi and fake. Here, you're watching Alita be a young girl. You see her be a teenager. You see her discover an orange and bite into it and get grossed out by the peel. And it's so real. It's a little moment that she has. Those little affectations are there in the performance capture. And not only is there like the little moments within Alita, there's still the inner warrior spirit that like shines through, that you can tell that she's completely fearless, that she doesn't care if she's going to get hurt. She doesn't care if she'll lose all her limbs and she'll be a torso with one arm. She's going to fucking fight for her friends and the people she cares about.
And it's actually interesting writing a character that has no fear. She has no fear. If she her motto, her kind of life motto is, I will not stand by in the presence of evil. She can't not do something. When she's confronted with an injustice, she will do something. It's just who she is. And she's absolutely unafraid. It doesn't matter how big the opponent is or how powerful or how menacing, she just goes right at it. Now, that's a hard character to write because you have to find the vulnerability. Well, her vulnerability is all about the people that she loves. She will never fear for herself, but she will fear for them. And then, and only then, is she afraid or is she stressed by something that might happen.
And what makes a great James Cameron movie is the feeling you have while watching it. You know, people can bitch and moan about the dialogue or this or that, or how Spider calls people buttholes in the Avatar movies. But there's a feeling that you have watching those characters, that you care about them. And you care about the plot, you care about the action that's happening. And in this movie, you care about Alita. And they just nail it there. You say it needed to be trimmed. I would actually say that it feels very rushed at times.
Yeah.
There's a lot that's...
Both things can be true. Yeah.
That's true. Speaking of being non-binary.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, there's... a lot of it's crammed in, almost like they were like, okay, this might be the one and only time we get to make this movie. So let's kind of combine, let's throw Motorball right up front. Let's not wait till movie 2 for that. Stuff like that. But I think it's a great marriage. I'm so glad you said it like that. It's a great team between Rodriguez and Cameron. They get each other. And you can tell that they're friends and they have similar sensibilities. And this movie works because of that. But Rodriguez isn't as good as James Cameron. And I think that shows, and as much as I like the action scenes, I'm going to bring up that they can be a little dark, they can be a little murky, they can be a little confusing. And that is something that just doesn't happen in a Cameron-directed production. So I think we're like bang on exactly the same on this episode, so it's going to be less of a fight.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because whenever the movie goes into the action sequences, you can just kind of feel that there's not the same level of confidence that a Cameron action sequence has, right? Where Cameron knows he's like the master at this and just fucking goes for it. And this is kind of like, you can feel a filmmaker being like, oh my God, I got to try and make like a Cameron action sequence. And that's tough, right? Like you said, like nobody else can do it. And this movie kind of struggles with that a little bit at times. Yeah. Not to say there isn't good action in this. There is from here, here and there, but
it's good, but
not all of it is great.
There's a supreme lack of third act mastery. Okay. Yeah. Like every one of Cameron's movies, the third act is just, it's mesmerizing. And in this movie, I think maybe you need that. Not to say that it leaves off, like you don't want, like I want more, like same deal. Mm-hmm. I'll just spoil my thought too. Like obviously I want more of these movies, with the same team too. But there's no real oomph, on an action side for you to want to continue forward. But there is an emotional one, and Alita's great. So,
well, I'm glad you brought up Alita because you were talking about her just as a character, and I want to echo everything you said. Where I agree, like I didn't mention that during my review, and I should have. Like obviously she's the titular character, and yeah, if the movie wouldn't work if she didn't work, and you totally fall in love with Alita from the very beginning. But I also want to point out that what I think is awesome about this, and again, this comes like to the Cameron magic, and like one of the things we're responding to when we talk about what we love about Avatar, is that I think you and I both legitimately like the Avatar story. Mm-hmm. And think like these are great characters, but also like we're very aware that we're watching these movies and we're just like blown away by the filmmaking and the tech of it and like what Cameron has accomplished. And as you said, how beautiful these movies are in a mostly CGI landscape compared to everything else we see. And Alita, as likable of a character as she is, as great of a performance as Rosa Salazar is giving, as like, so it's like this perfect marriage of a well-written character performed well. Mm-hmm. But I'm also spending the entire movie just like watching that character and being like, holy shit. This is incredible. Like what they did on like the performance capture level, the CG, just the visual design of her, the moments where we see her without, her clothes on. So her just kind of the cyborg body.
When we were making Avatar, I would tell people we don't need to be photoreal because you can't tell me what real is on Pandora. We only needed to be photographic. For Alita, we're on Earth. Alita needs to be photoreal so that she can stand right next to Christoph Waltz and look together. Of one in the frame.
Just even that decision to like echo and have her be the only one in the movie that they do this with too, right? Echo the look of the manga character by giving her the giant eyes, which I'm sure is something we were going to come around to talking about. But yeah, it's just, she's like beautiful to look at, you know. It's just it's incredible. And I just bought the 4K of this for this episode because I didn't have it on Blu-ray or anything. And I'll tell you, man, in 4K, I mean, there's just so many moments in this, especially, you know, close-ups on Alita or just scenes focused on Alita, where, again, just like you do with Avatar, you just find yourself drawn in, and, like, I could believe that, like, oh, no, they just really somehow found this, like, cyborg with giant eyes. Because it's just so incredible. Yeah.
It doesn't shy away. And again, this performance capture technology is nothing, it's not new anymore, but there's only one guy using it, like, to this effect. Like, truly, like, obviously, like, I brought up the Caesar trilogy from the Planet of the Apes, but there's something that's happening here with Alita, which is even more impressive, is that they're making her photoreal in, like, on sets. Mm-hmm. You know, like the Avatar movies, like, are obviously more impressive. But what I mean is, like, they're building that thing from the ground up. Like, when you get to that behind the scenes documentary I mentioned, Trev, it is like, it's astounding. Like, those movies were made in a warehouse and a pool. That's it. Pyacon is a metal grate. Okay? And they got this movie done. But there's something about watching Alita move through this real world and this real sets with other human beings, which makes it very impressive on its own. She, to my opinion, is photorealistic. Like, she is, I buy it 100%.
Yeah. There's never one moment where she's on screen with a human character where she looks out of place or you don't believe it. Like, it just, she seems like she is just an actress there with them. Yeah. Like, and I understand she is, but we're saying, like, just the visual look of her looks like, even though she does not look human, even though she looks inhuman because of the eyes and the cyborg body, it seems entirely in place there with them. That's not the case with many other movies that have tried this, obviously.
No, and you know, leading up to this movie and the marketing and the teaser trailers, like, honestly, I feel like people are knives out for Cameron and this tech, and honestly just the Avatar movies. So I think this fed into it, but you know, people immediately started talking about Uncanny Valley, and it's like, you want Uncanny Valley? Go watch Final Fantasy Spirits Within. Okay, go watch the movie we did. That is Uncanny Valley. This is remarkable. And
this, in fact, is like the exact opposite of Uncanny Valley, because the thing about Uncanny Valley, the biggest thing about Uncanny Valley with movies like Polar Express or Final Fantasy is dead eyes. Mm-hmm. And boy, you cannot accuse Alita of having dead eyes, because it's quite the opposite, like, right? And that is one of the genius things about giving her the giant eyes, is that I know we've said this before, right? An actor's most important tool is their eyes. Eyes are the window to the soul, right? It's where we see most of the emotion. And you give Alita these giant eyes, and she's seeing this world for the first time because she's lost her mind. She is basically a newborn, and we get to see the wonderment and the amazement in her eyes, and then we get to see, like, the passion in her eyes and the anger in her eyes, and it's all magnified. Because her eyes are giant. And, like, I don't see how you could call it Uncanny Valley, because she feels so alive because of that. Because you realize you are seeing Rosa Salazar's eyes just made bigger, and it works just so well. It's just it's just like so clever. Yeah.
Like, the moment she tries chocolate for the first time, and the way her eyes almost roll back, and she's just she feels like a real living, breathing character. And honestly, I'll say right now, better than her human compatriot. I think Hugo, the actor who plays Hugo, and I don't want to make fun of actors, is fine.
Yeah.
But the CGI character is doing the heavy lifting in this movie. And I mean, I love Christoph Waltz as her father figure. I love seeing him in, like, a loving role versus, like, a nefarious one. And I think that's kind of genius casting on its own right, because there is a certain element to the plot that you're like, oh, is he actually bad? So I think that's perfect. But no, he is just loving, and he loves Alita, and he will do anything for her.
It worked on my wife when there is a mystery in the movie of there is a Jack the Ripper-esque serial killer out in the city, and there's early in the movie they do try to make you think it's Christoph Waltz, and my wife was like, oh, it's him, right? And later on I said, she's like, you thought it was him just because it's Christoph Waltz, right? And she's like, yeah, I did. And I was like, and I had to remind her, like, let's not forget, and, like, this is the amazing thing about Christoph Waltz, is that he wins his Oscar for Inglourious Basterds for playing one of the most despicable characters in cinema history. And then he wins another Oscar for Django Unchained for playing one of the most good-hearted, like heroic characters ever. And it's like Tarantino right away recognized that this is what's incredible about him, is that he can be so despicable and like so easy to despise, but he also can just turn the switch and be so lovable and so genuine. And it's like this, but the crazy thing is it's the same charisma, right? It's the same like vibe. It's just like, it's really hard to describe, but that's what I think is incredible. I actually wish Waltz would do more roles like this. I think too many people are eager to just tap into the Inglourious Bastards part of it. But like, I actually really love when he plays these kind of like these more lovable father figures too.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
I want to go back to also, again, the little moments of Alita that show her being so charming, and you're smitten with her and you just love her. You want to protect her. But she'll protect you. Like, she doesn't need protection, but she's so childlike, but then she can like switch on a dime. You had mentioned like her anger seeps through, right? And there's like the moment you first get it when they're playing motorball on the streets with like a gang of kids, right? And she's having such a blast playing, but then she gets, hit and she gets knocked down. Yeah, she gets fouled. And she was like, and then she's like immediately complete vengeance in her eyes. And it's like Sarah Connor, you know what I mean? Like the Sarah Connor in Terminator 1 is this sweet, innocent woman that's been thrown into this murder plot, this murder bot. But by the end of the movie, she's on another level. Same goes with Ripley. This is something James Cameron just knows what he's fucking doing. And this may be a new coat of paint. And I think a lot of people give James Cameron shit, especially with the Avatar movies, about repeating similar things here and there. But you know what? He does it so fucking well that who gives a shit? People can watch fucking 30 Marvel movies that have the exact same fucking villain. The exact same. Remember in phase 1 of the Marvel movies where it was just like the inverse of the hero?
Yep.
Right? It was a bad Incredible Hulk. Oh, it's a bad Iron Man. Oh, it's a bad Thor. And nobody gave that shit. And nobody gave a fuck. But Cameron makes 2 movies. over a course of 30 years. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it. But I want you to speak a little bit more to, because you're more versed with Rodriguez than I am, if I'm being totally honest. I've watched many of his films, but I think you're more the expert here. You said that Rodriguez shines through.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that, please? Even for my sake.
I actually think it's the playfulness, right? Which I think is one thing that Cameron can kind of struggle with a little bit. Like the kind of like light on its feet playfulness. Like even the motorball, not the pro motorball sequence, but like the kids on the street playing motorball sequence that you talked about. I think to me that's the sequence that feels. I get what you're saying about the anger element of it, like tying into the character stuff that Cameron likes to examine. But just like the lived in world, like the Hugo character, all that stuff with those kids, like that to me feels more Rodriguez, where it just feels kind of like more down to earth and like attuned to that. And some of like the humor actually being like a little bit, maybe sometimes a little bit more effective than it can be in like the Cameron movies, Yep. So I think some of that to me feels like more Rodriguez. Is I think I don't know. It's hard to say because I'm in a difficult position now saying, like, I think you and I both agree that if Cameron had directed this, it would have been better, right? It obviously would have been a different movie. It would have been better. It's an interesting conversation to ponder, like, would it have been a much bigger hit? Would we be on Alita, like, 4 by now? Well, probably not. This isn't that old. But, I mean, would we be getting sequels for sure? That's an interesting... We don't know, right? My gut instinct is to say yes. But at the same time, I do think that Rodriguez brings, like, maybe a little bit of a heart and soul to this, that, like... If Cameron had done it, I do wonder if it would have just been more like pitched more epic. And I do think Rodriguez is trying to like sometimes maybe to the movie's detriment, but that's what makes it a unique. Yeah, that's what makes it a unique movie, right? Is how grounded it is. Because it kind of speaks to what you're saying about how like the end doesn't feel as like big and bombastic as it probably should. I bet with Cameron it would have. And I think with Rodriguez, I think he kind of maybe prefers the smaller scale. So I don't know. It's a really tough thing because I recognize that, and I think that's what makes it interesting. At the same time, I go, that maybe also cost it like $100 million at the box office. So, but I don't even mean it as like an insult. Maybe I'm more, it's just two different approaches.
No, totally. No, I would agree with that, and I think a big marriage of both of their visions is the bar fight scene.
Well, okay, I was just about to bring that up because you asked. Sorry, I'm so glad you said that because I forgot. That was the train of thought I was on, because you asked like where do I see the Rodriguez things. I'll tell you exactly where I see like a Rodriguez touch, and I know like maybe this is in the script and maybe it even comes from the manga. I don't know. But like when you get to the bar and there's like the one bounty hunter that has robotic dogs,
Jeff
played
Fahey.
by Jeff Fahey, the great Jeff Fahey, who has worked with Rodriguez before, in like Machete and Grindhouse, and I love Jeff Fahey. I'm always excited to see Jeff Fahey. But now you give him like he's got like an iron chin, and he's like this he's this robotic dog handler bounty hunter. And then the bad guy comes in and kills a real dog, and you just see the look on Fahey's face, and then you realize this is finally going to be the moment he is going to help Alita, and that's sure enough, that's what happens. Yeah. Like that to me is such a Rodriguez moment. That feels like a character out of like From Dusk Till Dawn or like Machete or something.
Totally.
Like that's where I feel like his humor and his playfulness coming in.
Speaking of that puppy being killed, amazing that in all the marketing for this movie.
Oh, I was going to say this too, yeah.
Right? So I guess, well, spoilers. I mean, we're talking openly about this movie, so we recommend it. So please go watch Alita. It's really damn good. Yeah. But there's a moment, well, throughout the movie, Alita has befriended a puppy. And goes to this bar, and the puppy shows up to the bar, and she's making the grand gesture of like just, you know, who's going to help me and who's being an asshole, and I'm going to fight you guys if I need to, blah, 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 to this like band of bounty hunting cyborgs at this bar. And our one of our villains kills the puppy, and off screen, but it's happening right in front of everyone. And Alita bends down and puts her hand in the blood of the puppy and then puts it under her eyes. As like war paint. Yeah. Like war paint. And then she goes to town. Now, the marketing of this movie and every single poster for it had her with the war paint on, right? And that's what we all thought.
There are some posters that are just her, like a close-up of her eye with the war paint.
Yeah, and little did we know it was puppy blood this whole time.
Puppy blood, yeah, I know.
Like, holy shit. It's very effective, though. And I don't really like... I mean, John Wick kind of did it, but... I'm not a big fan of babies or small animals being manipulative kills for things. Like sometimes I think it's a little, you know, it's too easy. But in a movie like Alita, fuck, it works, you know, because she's a kid. You know, she's a kid and she's never had a dog. So it works why she turns it on. But what a cool action scene too. And then she fights the big bad guy. I can't pronounce the name. What is it? Gruishka. That scene is so sick. And they go into like the underneath, like the underground, and they're fighting. He's got like these nail tentacle knives that are throwing at her, and then she gets cut in half, and she's just a torso with one arm, and she still kicks his ass and rips his like eye out. The line, a great use of your one F-bomb. Oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so fun. Just good lines she has in this. Like, you know, I do not stand by in the presence of evil. You know, when she uses the F-bomb, it's fuck your mercy. That was sick. And then even in the bar fight, when she goes, she fights a guy and breaks his nose, and she's like, oh, this bitch broke my nose. And she just under her breath, yeah, I did. Like, it's just that stuff is just works, man. It's such character stuff.
Yeah, that's where there's those moments. She feels like a teenage girl. Yeah. And like that's super important, right? Because she is this battle angel. We do learn that she is her, you know, we kind of hinted at this when we talked about the original story, but like it is eventually revealed that she was essentially a cyborg that was like a battle bot, right? Made to fight a war. And she's lost her memories, but that's what she was initially designed for. And like that's great because we want her to be an action star, an action hero, but like we also need her to be the daughter to Ito, and those moments where she just feels like so human. You understand why. Like I never for one second go like, why would Hugo fall in love with this cyborg that he like can't have physical relations with? You know, like no, I get it because she's just so lovable, and like she is still more human, to quote the great Rob Zombie or White Zombie, right? She's more human than human. You know, she is maybe the most human character in this movie, even though she's one of the ones that's not.
And again, it's the little moments. It's when she makes that huge gesture of pulling out her heart, to Hugo and is like, we'll just sell my heart. We'll do this. We'll get to what is it, Zelon? Whatever it is. I want to say Zion all the time because of the Matrix, but she's like, we'll just sell it. We'll get enough money. And she makes this grand gesture, and then it goes silent, and she's like, that was pretty intense, hey? Like, you know, like,
that moment needed that. That moment, like, needed that too, even because, like, my, you know, like I said, this is my wife's first time watching it, and when that happened, she was like, oh man, like, she was like kind of taken aback by that, because she's like, you've known this kid for like 2 days, and this is like really like over the top, but the fact that she undercuts that then by saying like, ooh, that was pretty crazy, right? Like, because otherwise it would seem like, ooh, slow down, you know. So I again, like, that's smart screenwriting. We can talk about other smart screenwriting stuff here, because I want to talk about both what works for this movie and what doesn't work on like a story level.
Please.
Something that definitely works, and this is where you get like what we said, where Cameron is just, he's been doing this so long, he's like a master at knowing exactly how story structure works and to its benefit. And I'm going to compare this to I, Frankenstein for a moment. Spoiler alert, this is better than I, Frankenstein. And remember we said one of the problems with I, Frankenstein was that we learn everything about this world like in the first like 5 minutes, and it's just told to Adam, and then there's no like new reveals for the rest of the movie. And like they give us the human character in the doctor, but she's not being introduced to the world, right? Adam knows this world, and so we as an audience kind of get this initial exposition dump, and then we're just stuck with it. One of the smartest like screenwriting storytelling tricks of all time is you have a main character with amnesia. That allows the world to be explained to her, and then by proxy explained to us, and we just get to totally go with it, right? She is learning all this stuff about Zalem and about the fall and about Motorball for the first time, as we are, but it works because she has to. She has amnesia. Everyone has to tell her about this. That's so perfect. And like, it's a small obvious thing, but like that's what makes the movie sing, is that the world building is in the service of the main character finding out about the world. Now, I will say, what is kind of, I think what is broken about this movie, and I want to see if you agree, and what is one of the things that holds it back from being as great as I think both of us want it to be, and this is kind of surprising to me coming from like a Cameron script, and maybe this does come from just like, you know, as you said, they're being worried about, you know, getting to do the sequels, or how they try to structure this as like a sequel setup or whatever. I don't think that the relationship between Zalem, the big floating city, and like the Earth that we're on is like very well established in this movie, or understandable. You know, like, and a big part of that is that we never go to Zalem, and I understand that's the whole idea, right? And like the journey that Alita is going to be on through multiple movies apparently is getting to Zalem, but by the fact that we never get to see Zalem, and it's just talked about as a concept and a thing, and this like floating city that like, you know, is it like controls everything, and it's like the political hub, and everybody wants to be up there but they can't. It's only where the rich people are and all the poor people are down there. It's just told to us, and I know you and I both hate stuff that's just told and not shown. Yeah. And not getting to spend any time there in this first movie really kind of hurts the story, I think, because we even learned that her whole secret origin is that she was involved in this war between, you know, that Zalem was involved in, and like this like other contingent from Mars, and I don't know, that's like actually kind of poorly handled here. The movie ends with like this, what's supposed to be this super cool badass moment where she's pointing her sword towards Zalem, and you're like, oh my god, she's eventually going to get to Zalem, but I don't know what Zalem is, and I don't know why people want to be there so much. That even goes to like, one last thing I'll say about this, and this is again, I want to see if you agree, is like the movie doesn't really do a good enough job to me of painting like the city they're in as being that shitty. Like, it doesn't seem like that. I know there's like crime and stuff, and like, you know, but it doesn't seem like that horrible of a place to live. You know, you see people having normal jobs, and there are people on the street, there's kids out there playing games, and like, it just seems like a city, you know. And when they're like everyone wants to get to Zalem, I'm like, why? If you're gonna tell me that, you need to show me what is so desirable about Zalem.
I agree. And I wonder if that's, I don't want to say dumbing down the manga from being pretty R-rated. From all accounts, the manga is like pretty violent, and it's they made a PG-13 for a reason, right? To sell. Yeah. Yeah. So, because I agree, the city doesn't seem that bad, but it's supposed to be like a hellscape. Yeah. Like you want to escape this place, and I don't get that sense in the movie. Also, I guess you're spending all your time with like your loving father and friends the whole time. So that's kind of a problem as well, is that because you're starting to love this like little family of characters, it is doing a disservice to the world building. So maybe that's what it is. And I could not agree more about the Zalem stuff. It's just such an idea. And I got to ask you, why does it work? Does it work in Avatar not seeing Earth and you're only told about Earth? Is it because we live on Earth? Like, is it because we know, because of the environmental message that like we can see it, and it's the humans are at least shown to be so shitty?
Well, I think the obvious answer to that is that Earth is used as a concept and an idea in Avatar, right? Of like Earth is supposed to represent what humans did wrong and what we've lost, and so why Pandora is being now sought to be like exploited. So the fact that we don't have to go to Earth to see how they fucked it up, we get that. Like that's the idea. Yeah. The problem is Zalem in this is not just an idea; it's the goal. Zalem is the thing that everyone is trying to get to. It's not Earth where they're like they've left it. It's where people want to be. So that's what like bothers me is like I just watched the whole movie going like, why? Like I'm not being told enough about this city and like why people want to be up there. Like so many characters are like fighting and like and to get up there and like, you know, doing underhanded deals to get up there. Yeah. And I'm just thinking like, well, the movie never once tells me what would be better about their life up there. Right, like the Jennifer Connelly character is a great example. So Dr. Ido's estranged wife, who we learn she's also a cyborg engineer. She works for this movie's main villain, Vector, played by Mahershala Ali. But her whole thing is like she's working with the bad guy because he has promised her that she will get to return to Zalem. Except she never talks about like why she wants to go back to Zalem. You know, like totally. I just don't get it. Yeah, so like that's the problem.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that isn't earned with the secondary characters, and even like the villain is bad. We'll just say it. Like the villain, I think you need a way stronger villain.
Although I will say, every time Mahershala Ali shows up in this movie in that outfit and those sunglasses on, like the first time you see like him giving out of a car or whatever, every time I see him looking like that, I just go like, I'm just reminded how much Marvel fucking dropped his ball, right? Don't you feel like every time? Like, oh fuck, that is Blade. That is Blade. How did they not? Why does this movie not exist yet? Like,
no, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. But like he is kind of wasted in this movie. Like he's cool to look at, but there's no meat on the bones there for the villain. Yeah. And then also because he's being puppeted, as well, by the actual big bad, who doesn't even really have a line in the movie, from the actor playing him. So like that hurts. At least again with the Avatar movies, you have a Quaritch, to be the face, or you have Edie Falco to be the face. You need somebody to look at and to hate. And in this one, you don't really. And especially because too, like even the bounty hunters, they're so cool that it's hard to like hate them. You know what I mean? Like obviously the one that kills the dog you hate, but they're still cool to look at, and the design is so awesome, and like the action is so cool. Like I don't know, it's this movie needs a really hateable villain, and I love when you have a hero's journey where you have the hero you're so rooting for, and then the villain you just despise. And I think that's what's missing from this as well, for making it a true, like, amazing sci-fi film.
Yeah, because even like the kind of primary villain we have in this movie, he's not attached to the Zalem stuff at all. So there's like an issue with that again. But also, like you said, it's Zapan, right? The super arrogant, handsome cyborg, right? This like cyborg who's mostly like cyborg, except he's given himself this like really beautiful human face. And Alita like clues it on that right away, right? And she finds that as like that's his sore spot, right? He's like so vain, and she can like kind of push his buttons about that. He's played by Ed Skrein, an actor who otherwise I usually don't have like much time for. Like I always found him kind of like, actually, I know some people prefer him as he was the first, what's that character's name on Game of Thrones? He was like, he was the guy who got replaced, right? Yeah. I just always found him like, I don't know, like creepier than he was supposed to be. and I know he was like, he played like the Transporter in like the shitty Transporter reboot or whatever. But he's actually like a lot of fun in this. Oh yeah. He's like so fun. And this is kind of goes what you're saying, right? He should be more hateable. Like I want to hate him, but he's so charismatic and so fun that actually I kind of watched the whole movie. There's like two moments where you think for a moment he might actually turn good, and it never happens, but I kind of wanted it to. Like I kind of was like, and I was thinking like, is that where the sequels would have gone? Because he doesn't end up murdered in this. He's not dead at the end. So it's like, would we have got like, as we're seeing with Quaritch now, maybe like a potential redemption arc with this character? Yeah. And like, I kind of want it because he's like, honestly, besides Alita, I'd probably point to him as like, he's the second most fun character in the movie. And I think the movie would have a lot of juice if they like actually teamed up for a while.
I agree. Yeah. I know you mentioned Jennifer Connelly, and I just think she's a waste here. Like she's sleepwalking through it. Her there's nothing on the page. There's nothing going on. And her heel turn is totally out of nowhere. So this is what I mean about cramming so much stuff in, right? Like that arc probably should have happened in movie 2. But it's like the whole idea is Dr. Ito and Dr. Shiren had a child and the child died, and then their relationship fell apart. And now he's basically adopted Alita, and she's mad at him for like kind of replacing their daughter. And that's the idea. On paper, that sounds intriguing, but that's as far as it goes. And it really needs to be pushed further to have oomph, to have dramatic weight. And so like when Connolly exits the movie, it's like, okay, whatever. Like, it's which is a shame because we both love Jennifer Connelly. So yeah.
There's a lot of plate setting in it that I think is unfortunate too, because this is something, I mean, look, our podcast is about this, right? This is certainly not the first time we talk about it, but you gotta like, it's really tough because I mean, we live in a franchise era, and obviously that is the heart of this podcast. And I understand everyone makes these movies just assuming they'll get to do sequels, but boy, you need to be really careful about that, and you need to be careful about like how many threads you know kick up without knowing you're going to get to pay them off, and just how many things are kind of like brought up here that they were just like, well, we'll get to that later. I mean, you mentioned the one, and you didn't say that name, but like, so like the main solemn bad guy is Edward Norton, and we see Edward Norton a few times, but as you said, he never even has a line. And it's like just that it's you know, it's Cillian Murphy and Tron Legacy all over again, right? Like, no, don't worry, we'll get back to you. And you're like, I don't know if you're gonna get to though. And or even like a small one, like, you know, we mentioned him earlier, like Jai Courtney showing up for just one moment as like the motorball champion, Jashugan, right? And to see him, you're like, okay, by this time, Jai Courtney was Jai Courtney. Like, you know, he hadn't come around, as we said in the last episode, to like finding his awesome niches like a drunken idiot in movies, but like he's clearly here to set up a bigger role in part 2. You know, and I read also like Michelle Rodriguez as the cyborg mentor in Alita's like flashbacks that she has. That was to set up more stuff in part 2. Yeah. So it's like there's a little too much plate setting in this movie too. That's not ultimately paid off. That's the thing, is like this movie doesn't entirely work as its own movie. I think that's kind of the problem. It does just a little bit, but not enough to be entirely satisfying. And that's what there are better versions of this where a movie didn't get the sequels it needed, but it's still kind of complete unto itself. And I wouldn't say this movie is. Yeah,
and that's what I felt most this time.
Yeah.
The first time I loved it. The second time I thought it was great. This time it's been a little bit of a drop off every time. But I think I've just become more aware to these things. You know, it's been 6 years since this came out. So, and we've seen a lot of stuff, and we have dissected a lot of stuff on this podcast. And I would be naive. I would be stupid to think that doesn't, affect a lot of things that I watch now. But I still recommend this. I still think it's great table setting. It really is. But if the sequel does not happen, which I'm betting it's not going to, honestly. Like I am still betting that, and that's why we're talking about it. It's not a full movie. So that's
this is a movie that could entirely be saved, or like the estimation of it could be raised so much by getting a sequel and having these elements paid off. But as its own thing, it's going to always be one of those pretty good but frustrating movies where you do go like, oh, this is like a cautionary tale about this, like, putting the cart before the horse with your franchise setting, and not just saying like, hey, let's like, to use Avatar as an example, right? James Cameron made Avatar knowing he wanted that to be a series. But that first movie ends in like, you don't need sequels. No. The story has been told, and that's not the case here. This movie basically ends with to be continued, and that's always tricky. And I'm kind of with you in that I don't have a lot of faith in the sequel happening. There was a brief moment where I thought maybe it was actually going to a couple of years ago. It felt like it had the most heat, and I think that's like kind of weaned off. And even like in this world where like the Avatar movies are still doing so well, and like it seems like he should be able to kind of do whatever he wants, but like, as I said, he's also a businessman, and you hear him talk about Avatar, and he knows, what the money stakes are. And I don't think this movie, especially now in a world where it wouldn't have the physical media to save it or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like the demand is there for it. And things have changed since 2019. Like big time. It's not just what Cameron can do or wants.
the business has changed. Fox is owned by Disney. You know, it's like Cameron's getting to make these Avatar movies because he's motherfucking James Cameron. And these movies have already grossed over almost $5 billion. So they're letting him do this. Is Bob Iger really like, oh yeah, James, you can do this one too. You can get back to that one too. Like we already just gave you another $500 million for your third movie, potentially another $500 million for your fourth movie. It just feels like Alita is maybe even one of those sacrificial lambs of like even like big mergers. You know, like this is one of those things that just won't come to fruition because the business is just so different.
I wonder how you feel about the future of the theatrical experience, which is so intrinsic to seeing Avatar, but it feels like, in general, an endangered species right now.
It might be, you know, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how this film does. We're starting to pick up at the end of a pretty dismal year with, you know, Wicked for Good and Zootopia. You know, we've got a little bit of an up inflection. But basically, between COVID and streaming, a huge bite, about 35%, 30 to 35% has been taken out of the theatrical marketplace. And then it's sort of stabilized. So, you know, unless it continues to decline, I think we'll be okay.
But why is sitting in the dark with strangers so important?
Oh, it's super important. It's a different level of experience. So people make a lot about the communal experience. That's great in a comedy. Everybody's laughing, you laugh, you feel normal, right? I think for a dramatic experience, unless somebody's really sobbing quite loudly next to you, you're not really feeling the rest of the audience that much. But what you are feeling is an unbroken sensory stream that's coming at you for 3 hours, 2 hours or 3 hours, whatever it is. And it's like it's like the train leaves the station, you don't get to get off. You don't have a remote. The second you give people a remote, and that's the way they're watching a movie for the first time, they're in control. Right.
Interesting.
And people like that. I can pause it. I can scroll. I can go in the other room and do something. I can make dinner. You know, one of the kids calls, oh, I'm going to pause it. You know what I mean? It's like it's a different relationship with the entertainment, with the medium. When you make a decision to go to a movie theater, two things. One, you want that focused, dedicated experience. Two, you're only going to do it if you know it's worth it, right? So you're going to study the problem before you go. You're going to have to hear about it. You're going to have to hear it from friends or online or whatever, that it's okay. And it probably needs to have some kind of a pedigree, you know, like it's a Star Wars movie or like it's a Dune movie or like it's an Avatar movie. Right? Because how bad can it be?
It's been interesting hearing James talk, like James, like I know him. It's been interesting hearing Cameron talk recently about, and I know he's like tempering expectations, of course, but he's worried about the state of movies in a big bad way compared to what the press was before. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like the way he's talking about, like he's really focused on, we need to make money. We need to make money on this one. More so than what he was saying about Way of Water.
Maybe it's because he needs the money to make Alita 2.
Maybe it really is part of that blood oath. Maybe it really
did you
is.
see, like, did you see in our research, there was like where Rodriguez, because they both talked about how, you know, how much they want to do a sequel. And so is Rosa Salazar. Like everybody sounds down to clown. You know, I don't know how Edward Norton feels about it, but I'd imagine he doesn't seem that picky about roles, you know? But I like Rodriguez talking about how, you know, one of the many times it's come up where he said like, oh, I think like, you know, in talking with Disney that this is going to happen as long as the Book of Boba Fett really knocks people's socks off. Oh, fuck. You know, it's like, was that the final nail in the coffin where they're like, just like, you know, the Book of Boba Fett like killed you on Rodriguez? Was Disney just like, nope, that's it. No more.
Yeah,
no
I know,
Alita.
right?
Yeah.
I wonder if they'd greenlight it if Cameron said he would direct it.
That's yes. I think that's almost like
that's the one. That's the only way to get this made, I think, is Cameron actually saying he's going to make it.
And here's the other thing I would say to Cameron, right? Like he needs to listen to me. Like, Cameron, hold on a second. Let me tell you how to do this, right? Let me give you some advice here.
And you do like to tell Canadians what to do all the time.
I do. Yeah. because he's been talking again, as you said, him and Rodriguez again have been talking recently about how they have a blood oath to get these sequels made. But the thing is, he's multiple times he said that like we're working on more than one sequel, right? We still want to do like a trilogy, and I would say, buddy, for once, just say like, you know what, this is going to be a duology. We realize that the rest of the story can be told in one movie. Like, don't. That's part of the problem, I think, is when you come to a studio and say, hey, this movie was just a minor hit. Can we do 2 more? Like, maybe you could convince them a little more if you said, you know what, this has got enough of a following that what if we could find a way to make it a little cheaper, a little faster, and just let us make one more and say that there's, and then that would even like, then they changed the name for like a reason. We teased that we were going to talk about that. That was John Landau's idea. He said, let's not call it Battle Angel Alita. Let's call it Alita Battle Angel so that each one can be Alita : something different.
Let's jump to Alita. And forgive me if I say Battle Angel Alita, okay? Because that's what's in my head.
No, but you can't.
I know I can't.
It's Alita : Battle Angel, because the next one will be Alita Fallen Angel and Alita, Avenging Angel and Alita whatever. I mean, that's assuming we make some money. Otherwise, It'll be Alita. Who's Alita? Alita? There was an Alita?
I don't remember Alita.
But you could get just 2 of them, and tell the story. And like, why does everything have to be a trilogy? I don't necessarily agree with that. Like, I'm fine with just 2 movies telling a complete story. So use this one as like a test case. Say like, this is gonna be one of our first attempts to just have a 1 and a 2 and be done. Do you think it's also a problem that Rosa Salazar just hasn't become, like, it's obviously a problem, right? For the like, she just hasn't become a huge star either afterwards. And, like,
maybe. I think Cameron's name hovers above all else. Like, think of this.
I guess Sam Worthington's not a huge star, so yeah.
Exactly. That was exactly what I was going to say. And plus the whole cast of characters other than Zoe Saldana, right? Yeah. Like, everybody else, like, these are unknown kids that are going to potentially lead into the 4th and 5th movies, right? So I think... for a different director, I think that would matter more. But I think the biggest missing piece is Cameron directing it. Honestly, I think that gets greenlit immediately. If he says, yeah, okay, I'll make it. In between Avatar 3 and 4.
Yeah, well, I mean, he keeps saying he wants to do something different before getting back to Avatar, so... Yeah. And I know it's, maybe it's the Hiroshima movie or whatever, but like, hey, I don't know, maybe do this. Would that be mean to Rodriguez to just be like, sorry, buddy, we gotta like... push you aside to make the sequel?
You know what? I actually think that's probably another reason why he won't do it. He seems like a loyal guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know him, but learning all these long-standing friendships he's had throughout all of his filmmaking, like obviously he was kind of a terror there for in the 80s, self-described.
You've said I was an asshole in the 80s. Have you
mellowed? Of course they picked that one up,
You said it.
True. I've said a lot of things in the last 3 weeks of being all over the world talking about this movie. That's the one that got a lot of traction. And by the way, I don't even think I was an asshole in the 80s. I think I had bad days, as anybody would under that kind of pressure. I mean, directing is I relate to it as a diamond anvil. That's the thing in physics that allows us to generate the greatest amount of pressure on a sample, on a molecule. So when you're a director, you're under a diamond anvil. It's the greatest pressure you can imagine. And it took me a few years actually to figure out that I didn't get to take that out on other people, right? And it took the expedition projects. So when I left Hollywood for 7 years and I went to sea, essentially, I found my leadership skills improving a great deal. And I don't want to say I came back from that transformed, but I think it did inform how I operated as a filmmaker from then on.
But he's come a long way, but he's still, his Arnold relationship, his Sigourney relationship, the Del Toro one, and then this one with Rodriguez. I have a feeling that he wouldn't push out his friend.
Yeah.
He'd rather just not make it to not do that to his friend. In
fact, I don't know if you agree. I kind of get this feeling him talking so much about, we're going to do this sequel. That's almost like him being nice to Rodriguez.
Maybe.
It's like, yeah. It's
well,
like,
look, it got us to cover this podcast, this episode. It was because of that.
Yeah.
So maybe you're right. Okay. Alita, Battle Angel.
Mm-hmm.
This was good Christmas. This was a good Christmas. It was the I Frankenstein was a really funny episode. If you haven't listened to that one, listeners, go back. That was a really funny one. I had a great time with that one. This one was just nice.
Yeah.
Just like the movie. It's just good. What do we got going on? Oh yeah, we have a new theme. Do you want to go into that?
Yeah, I think we have to.
Okay, let's see. Wow, he says it as he's like. Yeah, I gotta bring up the schedule here because I forgot. Okay, so interesting. Okay, I remember now. Last January we covered, what was it? The Mutant
Chronicles.
Mutant Chronicles in January. What was our theme month back then? Do you remember?
Mutant May. What was it? March Mutant Mayhem. I don't know, something. Yeah.
There was a Thomas Jane movie we did in January, and then we realized, we also did a Thomas Jane movie in the January of 2024 as well.
Oh, it was The Punisher.
But that was New Year's Punishment Party.
Yeah.
But I swear we did another January movie. Then I was like, we made a joke of like, let's have a Thomas Jane January. So we're anyways, doesn't matter. January 2026 is Thomas January. Yeah.
Yep.
So we are looking at two. Thanks for the backup there. We're looking at two Thomas Jane films. January 13th, we're looking at Give 'Em Hell Malone from 2009. I know big ol' zip about this one. And January 27th, we're looking at The Predator from 2018. Yeah. Pretty timely, I would say as well.
Yeah. Another franchise that has like tangential James Cameron connections. So
look at this. Look at us. We don't even, you know what? We say we plan this really, like we do. We plan a lot of stuff in advance, but these little moments, we don't plan. Mm-hmm. We don't plan. Same, one of the actresses from The Predator was the actress from I, Frankenstein, by the way.
Oh, well, you know what else is The Predator is written and directed by Shane Black, whose recent movie Play Dirty starred Rosa Salazar.
Unbelievable. As you were getting there, my hands went up in the air. Incredible. Anyway, okay. Thomas January, Give 'Em Hell Malone, The Predator. Follow along at F2F Pod. That's at F2, the number 2F Pod on all the socials. Like us there, like us everywhere. Rate, review, whatever you do. Star rating would be great. And join the tribe, the Navi tribe, and hit that subscribe. And let's go into the new year. Hopefully it's a good year. 2025 was an iffy one.
Yeah.
So let's hope for 2026 to, give him Hell Malone, really. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, please, Thomas Jane, you're like a...
Please, Thomas Jane, you're our only hope.
Obi-Wan Jane Obi, you're our only hope.
All right.
You know what? If the fate of the world is resting on the shoulders of good Thomas Jane movies, we're probably in trouble.
Totally. Yeah. Totally. Hey, Thomas Jane was also in Play Dirty, right?
Yeah, he was.
Okay, that's it. See you next year.
See ya.